So hello friends and welcome once again to this step-by-step Python tutorial for absolute beginners. This is the part 2 of this video, and in this video, in the previous video we discussed about overview of our course, and in this video we are going to start our first chapter, that is introduction of Python. So this is part 1, introduction of Python. One more thing, I will attach this PPT file along with my course. So whatever is written inside this PPT file, you can read from here also, so it will work as some study material for you also. So first thing is Python is a very powerful and easy to understand high level programming language. So one keyword is high level programming language, and it is very easy to understand. So if you compare it to something like Java, Java is not that easy to understand. Java is also a very powerful language, but if you compare Java or C# to Python, then the syntax of Python is really easy to understand, and that's why most of the people who are from non-technical backgrounds have preferred Python. It is a general purpose programming language, and it requires only interpreters, and it do not require compilers. So whatever we are discussing in this part, so I will explain it to you when we will create our programs. Third thing is, it is an object oriented programming language. Everything in Python is an object. So there are many libraries which are already created, and everything in Python, whenever we write anything in Python, so it is an object of some class. So that's how we can understand it. So for example, if you are familiar with BMW cars, so BMW cars these cars are objects, and these cars are object of a family. These cars are object of a class, and that class is known as car. So next, suppose you are using a Toyota, you have a Toyota car, you have a car of Toyota brand. So that Toyota car is also an object of the same class. So that is how you can understand class and objects. So a class is a definition, a class is a library, a class is a blueprint, and it is a set of rules, you can say. A class has some data, a class has some methods associated with it, and all the objects of that class follow the same methods. For example, car has 4 wheels, and every car will have 4 wheels. So every car of that class will have 4 wheels. So they have one engine, they have a steering. So you can understand from the definition of a car that Toyota is also a car and BMW is also a car. So we will discuss about this object oriented programming concept. So this object oriented programming concept is actually part of the advanced course. So if you are at beginner level, you don't have to worry about this thing too much. So in the core level, because you are learning core Python, so simply stick to this tutorial and simply follow every lecture, and you will be able to understand the basics of Python. So next thing is, creator of Python was Guido van Rossum during 1985 and 1990. Python supports following programming paradigms. It is object oriented, it is imperative, it is functional, it is procedural, and it has large and comprehensive standard library. Python is both strongly typed and dynamically typed. So this is the introduction of Python. If you have not understood some parts of this video, it doesn't actually matter, because when you will start developing or when you will start typing your program, these things will not really matter, and slowly you will start understanding these things. Also, it focuses on readability and productivity. Now next thing which is important for you is, Python runs on all major operating systems including Windows, Mac OS or Linux, and hence it is a cross-platform programming language. Another thing is, Python is open source, so you don't have to pay anything to use Python. Basically, Python uses white spaces for indentation. Now this thing is again for advanced users who have some knowledge of programming. So if you have some knowledge of programming, you know the meaning of indentation. So when we will discuss about loops, Then we will discuss this indentation and this white space thing, so you don't have to worry too much. Some programming languages use curly brackets for creating loops, and but in Python white spaces are used for indentation. If you are familiar with programming languages such as C or Java, so you will find out that some expressions in Python are similar to them while others are not. So that's what I want to tell you. If you are familiar about some programming language, then you will see that something in Python is really similar to those programming languages. If you are not familiar, or if you are doing programming for the first time, then you can leave these things. You will learn from scratch. And Python is used by famous organizations, like it is used by Google, NASA, PBS, etc. And this is the basic syntax of Python, so that you can understand how you can do anything in Python. Suppose we want to print hello world on our screen, so it is really simple, because we want to print hello world on our screen. So you will write print, then you will use parentheses. Parentheses are these, or you can call them round brackets also. So after every function there is an opening round bracket and a closing round bracket, and inside opening and closing round bracket there are these these are single or double quotes, and inside those single or double quotes there are some words, or there can be numbers. So there can be alphabets, there can be numbers, there can be anything. Suppose you can write your email ID also, abc@google.com, for example. So you can write anything inside these parentheses, and that will be printed to screen. So this is how simple Python is. You don't have to import anything, you don't have to include anything. You can simply write this and Python will print it for you. So this is the IDE of Python, and this IDE, or you can call it a simple software, this IDE is known as IDLE, 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 and you can write and type a Python program here. This is very helpful for beginners. So for example, you will write print. Print is a function, then you will open parenthesis, close parenthesis, and inside this type double quotes and write anything. You can write your name, or you can write anything, write Claxo, and you can see this is the output. So whatever you have written inside your print is printed on Python. You can write 56 plus 78, and Python will give the sum of 56 and 78 for you. So you don't have to declare anything. You can write x is equal to 56, you can write y is equal to 78. These are two variables. You can write x plus y, and it will give you the answer. So this is how simple Python is, and we have to learn this. So we will learn this step by step. I will keep explaining everything to you, so you don't have to worry if you have missed something in this video. Again, this is just an introduction, and you don't have to worry too much about it. So next I will discuss what can be developed using Python. What are some real world applications of Python? So Python can be used to create web and internet development. That means if you will learn Python, what you can do, so you can do job as a web developer. For example, you can create ERP softwares. You can create ERP, or enterprise resource planning softwares. These softwares are used by organizations for their daily activities. For example, you can develop an ERP for a school, and in a school they keep record of every student, record of every teacher, they keep record of fees submission, they keep a record of their course, they keep a record of their holidays and everything. So financial data and everything can be managed in an ERP software. They keep record of their daily expenses. So you can create applications for schools, and those applications can be on web, or those applications can be on desktop also. So you suppose you go to some superstore, for example Easy Day superstore, or Walmart superstore, or Spencer superstore. So there you find that various products are there. So, and whenever you buy a product, there is an application that is used to create bill for you. So create your sales bill. So the application that is generating sales bill for you can be developed using Python, and that can be a desktop or GUI application. Next, Python has libraries. Python has advanced libraries, and those libraries are very much helpful for statistics and data analytics also. For example, if you watch football matches or soccer matches, or if you watch cricket match or tennis or any type of sports, so between whenever a commentator wants to display some statistics to you, they display it using some graphs. They, and they can display them using bar graph, pie chart, or linear graphs, or whatever. So Python can be used to draw those graphs for you, and Python can read data from any source, from any suppose you have a Excel file, or you have a CSV file, or you have an HTML file, or where you have a SQL file. So wherever you have stored your data, Python can read that data, and then after reading that data, Python can process it, and after processing that data, it can create graphs for you. And graphs are easy to understand. Next thing is, Python can be used for software development, as we discussed already, that you can create any type of software using Python. And Python can be used to access databases, like I mentioned. So every organization has a database. Every organization that does work in a professional way mostly has a database where they store the data about their daily activities, where they store data about their financial transactions, their upcoming tasks, and sales, profit, loss, everything. So Python can be used to access those database. Python can be used to create applications that can insert data in those databases. Python, so you can create database applications using Python. So after doing this course, you can do this course also. You can learn languages like MySQL, or you can learn languages like any language related to SQL, like PostgreSQL, SQLite, MySQL, MS SQL. You can learn any SQL based language, and you can connect Python easily with MySQL, and you can create an application where after typing, after taking input from user, you will save values in database. So we have a separate course for that also. So next, Python can be used for network programming. Python can be used for games and 3D graphics development. So this Python script can be used, for example, if you are familiar with a software called Blender. So Blender is a free to use open source software for 3D modeling, 2D modeling, and game development. Blender has an internal gaming engine. The earlier version of Blender has an internal gaming engine, and there are various gaming engine with which Blender can work with, and you can write Python scripts to create to interact with those 3D models and everything. So again, this is one very big advantage of learning Python. You can see the variety of it, and the most important application of Python is in artificial intelligence and machine learning. So if you are not familiar about machine learning, for example, driverless cars, if you are familiar about Tesla's driverless cars, or if you are familiar about any particular chatbot, or any particular virtual private assistant like Siri for iPhone, or Google Assistant for Android phones. So this Google Assistant, Siri, those driverless cars are all example of machine learning. If you see Google Lens software is there, so if you click an image, so Google Lens will tell you what that particular image is. That is also machine learning. So there are various algorithms in machine learning, and there are many libraries that are already written, and the main base of those libraries is Python language. So if you have basic knowledge of Python, then you can go straight to this artificial intelligence and machine learning thing. On my YouTube channel, I have a separate video for basics of machine learning. You can go there and learn about that also. So this is what can be developed using Python, and there are many things that we can do with Python that might not have been covered in this list, but mostly everything that you can do with Python is covered here, and you can choose any of these options as your career option. For example, statistics and data analytics, and artificial and machine learning. If you are good in maths, if you are good in statistics, then you can pursue this. If you are good in 3D designing, if you have some prior experience of creating 2D and 3D designs, then you can go for game development and 3D graphics using Python. And you can also choose web development and software development if you want to pursue your career as a software developer. So I hope you have understood what is the use of Python, what Python can be used for, and you can see how simple the syntax of Python is. And so in the upcoming chapters of this tutorial, we will start with installing Python in your computer and installing Python idle IDE, and then I will demonstrate you how you can write your first Python program. So thanks for watching. Have a nice day. So hello friends, and welcome once again to our step-by-step Python tutorial for absolute beginners by Slidescope. Now in this part of tutorial we are going to discuss about installing Python IDEs, and we will be installing or using Python idle and Anaconda. So because we are in the beginning phase of our tutorial, so I will demonstrate you Python idle, use of Python idle, and in the advanced parts I will demonstrate you the use of Anaconda. When our course will advance to these particular parts, then I will demonstrate you use of Anaconda. So in order to install and download Python in your computer, you must go to the default site of Python, and the official site of Python is python.org. Go to python.org, click on downloads, and here you can find Windows, Mac OS and other platforms. So because we are using Windows, so we can click and download the latest version of Python, or you can choose other versions also. So click on Windows, and then it will give you options to choose from various versions of Python. Remember there are major two release of Python, Python 2 and Python 3, that are being used currently in even in 2020. So but we are learning Python 3. So the latest version of Python 3 that is out, it is 3.8.2 as per March 10, 2020, and you can download it from here. What you can do is you can download the Windows 86 x64 executable installer. So you can download it. Once you download and install it, you will see these various options. These will be installed in your computer. An idle file, a software called idle, or an IDE called idle will be installed. Python 3.6 will be installed, and there will be some manuals and documents also. So this is the location where in my case Python is installed, and in my case the version of Python that I am using is 3.6. As compared to the latest version, this is more stable version right now. So in order to run Python, what you can do is in your start menu, start typing idle, and this will bring the idle Python 3.6 64-bit or whatever it is in your case. Go to run as administrator and allow it. So this will bring you to the idle screen. So this is the idle screen. You can also type Python here. So type Python here in your start menu, and after typing Python, you will see Python this icon here. So this is icon of console application. So there is an IDE of Python that will run in the command prompt or the console. So you can run and test your code here also. Print hello, hit enter. Now hello will be printed. So either you can use this command line version, or you can use this idle here. This is Python 3.6.8 shell, and this particular IDE is known as idle, and IDE is called integrated development environment. It is something where you can write your code, you can test your code, and an IDE will help you in running and testing your code also. It will provide you some suggestions and various other things that you can play with while coding. So there are many IDE available for Python. I will name some of them for you. An IDE of Python is called Spider. Then there is another IDE which is called Jupyter Notebook, and PyCharm is there. You can use PyCharm. You can install PyCharm in your computer, and and various other IDs are there. One good ID that I like is Wing Personal 7. So there are various IDEs of Python. This Jupyter Notebook and Spider, they come with the Anaconda distribution. So it's up to you what IDE you use, but I recommend you to, if you are a complete beginner, so I recommend you to use Python shell, this idle IDE, and this IDE will give you some suggestions also, and it is always helpful to start things from the very basic. So we can save our Python programs also. So if we write anything, we can save our Python programs. Let's say my first program, and the extension in which Python programs are saved are .py or .pyw. We basically most of the times we see and use .py extension. As you can see, some sample programs are saved in my directory, and they are saved with the name .py here. So let me save my first. So now you will see that your program is saved. While running idle for the first time, you will see what version of idle you are using, and what type of architecture is there in your computer, and the various other things. And now the next thing is, let me start running my first code, and this will also cover the second part of this tutorial, that writing your first Python program. So as you can see, I have guided you the process of installing Python IDE, and now it's the time to write your first Python program. So again, go to idle. The first Python function that we need to learn is print function. Print is a built-in function of Python. Whenever we write a function, we write open and closing parentheses with it, and inside these open and closing parentheses we can write double quotes or single quotes here. And first I will give you an example of using double quotes. Whatever we write inside these double quotes, it is known as string. String is a data type of Python. I will also discuss about this data type in other parts of this video also. So a string is basically all the alphanumeric values that we can write. For example, ABC @ 1 2 3. So suppose you, for example, you are writing an email ID. So in your email ID there are special characters, there are numbers, there are small and capital letters, so there are spaces. So everything, if we write everything inside double quotes or single quotes, so Python considers them as strings. So print this, and Python will simply print that for you. What we can do, one more thing we can do is, we can simply write without using the print statement, we can write our strings. So for example, let us write the very famous programming string hello world. So as you can see, Python has printed here. So these three arrows, they represent the line where you will write your code, and this second line, it will represent your output. So when we typed hello world and we wrote it inside double quotes and we hit enter, so Python printed it for us, and we can see the output here. Now it is the time to write some numeric values also. So I have written 45, hit enter, and 45 will be printed. So what Python is doing here is, it is detecting the data type of our value, and if it is a numeric value, so it is printing it without single or double quote. We can print 45 in using the print function also, and we can print 45 without print function. Another thing what we can do is, we can print 45 inside single or double quotes also. So if we are printing 45, or if you are printing a numeric value inside single or double quotes, for example, print 45, this is also same thing. So if you are printing this, then Python will consider this value as a string, and it will not consider this value as an integer. But if we are writing 45 without single or double quotes, then that value will always be considered as a numeric value. So we will talk about these things in the upcoming parts of this video also. in programming, data is either qualitative or quantitative. That means either we write alphanumeric characters or we write numeric characters. So numeric characters have various data types, and alphanumeric character is mostly a string. So and we will discuss about data types in the later part of this video also. So we can write numeric values with boolean, with floating point numbers also. So this is also a valid numerical value. We can write print 45 plus 56, and Python will give us the answer. We can do one more thing. We can write print, we can write hello, then we can put a comma, then we can write how are you, again we can write a comma, and then we can write 56. So what is happening here? This print function is taking arguments, and there are currently 3 arguments in this print function, and what this function will do is it will print all the 3 values that are inside it, that are given to it as argument or parameters, and hello, how are you, and 56, and after every value it is putting a space here. So this is the basic of how you can write your first program in Python. Go ahead, install Python in your computer, and open idle IDE, and inside idle IDE write your first program and save it. I will also tell you how you can run your Python programs later, and there are various things that we will do, but since it is the first program, so I hope you have understood something about Python in this tutorial. So thanks for watching, and we'll meet once again in the next part of this video. And welcome once again to this step-by-step Python tutorial for absolute beginners. In this course by Slidescope, we are going to move ahead to our next topic. In the previous part, we discussed about writing your first Python program, and in this part, we will discuss some basic data types of Python. So to clear this topic, data types in Python, let us open idle once again. Like I demonstrated you in the previous video how you can install idle in your computer. If you are using Windows, run idle as your administrator. If you are using other programs like Mac, or if you are using Linux, so there are various ways of opening idle there also. So now first thing, you have to understand that there are numbers, then there are strings, or you can call them words, and then there are collections. So these are the 3 things in Python, and if I put a hash sign here, or you can put it by using shift plus 3 on your keypad, so this particular line will be commented in Python. So there are numbers, words, and collections in Python. So whatever data we write, that data may fall in these 3 categories, and hence everything in Python, every data that we write in Python has some data type associated with it. So first example of data type is strings. So strings are basically alphanumeric characters, alphabets from capital A to Z, alphabets from small a to Z, numbers from 0 to 9, and various special characters like exclamation sign, @ sign, this hashtag, $%, caret, ampersand, whatever these signs are, everything comes under a string. And string data type are written in single or double quotes in Python. For example, if we write print hello @123 exclamation or something like that, so it has capital letter, it has small letters, it has special characters like @ and exclamation mark, it has numbers. So this is alphanumeric data, and when you will print it, Python will print that string. And if you will there is a method in Python, or you can use type function in Python. So this is a type function, it is a built-in function of Python, and you can use this type function to test the data type of any particular data. You just have to provide that data inside this type function as an argument. So whatever we write inside these opening and closing parentheses is considered as argument, and argument of this function, and the argument should be the value that you want to test. So for example, if I write, let me write some name, let me write Mohan. So type of Mohan is class str. So that means this particular data is an object of class string. Str stands for string. So like we mentioned in previous videos also, everything in Python is an object. So whenever you write something, for example, if you write hello, so an object is created, and this object is string. This object is of class string. Next is moving to numbers, and in Python there are various data types that are associated with numbers. For example, integers, float values, and there are complex numbers also. So these are the data types that are associated with numbers. Integer, float, and complex are data types in Python. For example, if you will write type 1, so this is data of type integer. Type -456, again this is also data of type integer. This data is without any decimal point. So data that is written without any decimal point, data from -infinity to +infinity without any decimal point, will be considered as integer in Python. So every data which is a number which is written without single or double quotes, and it does not have any decimal point with it, so this number will be an object of class string in Python. So again, let me write some other number, some big number here. Again, this will also be data of type integer. Third thing is what if we want to write numbers with decimal points, for example 45.67. so these numbers are called floating point numbers, or in simple word, float. 45.67 type -34.56. so again this is also float. So numbers ranging from -infinity to +infinity, but numbers with decimal points, having some decimal values, so these numbers will be known as floating point numbers. Now next thing is, there is another way of writing mathematical numbers, whose numbers are known as complex numbers. In complex numbers there is one real part and there is one imaginary part. So 1 plus 5j is also a valid number, and if you will check its data type using the type function, so write type 1 plus 2j, or write anything like that, and you can see the class or data type associated with it is complex. So these are some basic data types of Python. Then we'll move ahead, and there is one more data type which has only two values. The data type is known as Boolean, and because it is called Boolean, it takes only two values, true and false. So but remember, true and false are case sensitive, and you have to write them without single or double quotes. So for example, type of true, so type of true, if you will print, it will tell you it is bool. Bool is a short form for Boolean. Similarly, type of false, and you can see in our Python, in our idle, every data type has various colors associated with it. So functions are in purple, these keywords, or you can say Boolean values, are in orange. Integers and numbers, basically numbers, that is float, complex values and integers, they are in black color, and strings are in green color. And remember, you can go to this option here, you can configure your idle, and you can change the various color schemes from here. And so go to this highlights tab here, and here you can see you have normal text, code context, there are various things. You can choose the background, you can choose the foreground, and you can change this color theme. You can change idle classic, idle dark, so idle will become dark for you, and there are some new versions also. So but we are sticking to the basic idle with a white background and this color scheme. Every output is in this blue color, and so next thing is so these are some basic data types of Python. We have studied so far strings, we have studied numbers, we have also studied Boolean data type. Now next is, like I mentioned, in Python everything is a data type, or everything is a class, is an object of some particular class. So there are collections also in Python. For example, there are lists, tuples, sets, and dictionaries. So we will discuss about these list, tuple, sets, and dictionaries. There are separate videos for these four data types, or you can say these four collection. So I am giving you some hint about list here. For example, when you write a single value, a single integer value, or a single string value, or a single Boolean value, that is again Boolean. But if you write square bracket, and inside your square bracket you write some values, for example 45, 67, 89, and you want to check what is the type of this data, so we are using square bracket to write three numbers using comma separated. We are separating them with comma, and that you can see the type is list. Similarly, if you just change your bracket type and you make the bracket type round bracket or use parenthesis, it will become tuple. And if you will write curly brackets, then it will become a set. So these are the data types that are called collections in Python, and we will discuss about them in separate videos. Every particular collection, list will have its own separate video, tuple will have its own separate video, similarly set and dictionary will have their respective separate videos. So there is no need to get confused about these things. Up until now you must understand that in every programming language, whenever you write something, you have to deal with data. You will take input from user, and whatever input user will provide you will have some data. For example, if you will ask, if you want name or email from your users, so name and email, so these values will come under a string. If you will ask for example what is their age, so something like their age will come under integer. For example, someone is 25 years old, so it will come under integer. If you will ask them something like, are you married, so they will give answer true or false. So they can give answer in true and false, and then that type of data will be considered as a Boolean data. Again, if you ask, again these are comments in Python, like I mentioned in the earlier part of this video. So these things are not executed in Python. Comments can be provided after writing hashtag in Python. So again, suppose you will ask them what is their salary after including the tax and everything, so they might tell something like 1456.78. so again this data here is Boolean data. So this is how you can tell or you can use or understand various data types. So, and you have to deal in real world, you have to deal with this type of data. Again, suppose you have to tell marks of a student in a class. Suppose there are 5 students and they got these numbers. So these are the numbers of 5 students. These numbers are in an order. Suppose the student with roll number 1 has 45 numbers and roll number 5 has 99 numbers. And so when you write data in a collection, when you have to write data of some particular collection, then you use a list, tuple, sets, or dictionaries. So we will discuss them later. I hope you have understood what are data types. So every data has some type, and the name of those types are integer, float, complex, string, Boolean values, tuples, list, sets, and dictionaries. So thanks for watching this video, and in the next part we will discuss about variables in Python, how you can declare variables, how you can store the values, or how you can store data in variables and use it later for programming. Hello friends, and we are continuing with our step-by-step Python tutorial. And in the previous part we discussed about data types in Python, and moving ahead in this part we will discuss about variables in Python, declaration of variables and their usage. So for reference I am using this slidescope.com Python app home. I am using this URL, so I will also share this article in the description. So what are variables? So variables are used to store values in Python or in any programming language. These variables can be used later on in the program for computing purpose. Variables have a name, they have a value and a memory location in computer. So for example, again we are using our Python IDE, that is idle, and here we are going to discuss about variables. As discussed, variables are used to store values in Python. So variables are value holders, and instead of that value these variables are used in the program. So variables are type of replacement for a value. For example, if I write x is equal to 5, so in this case x is the name of variable. This is equal to sign here is known as the assignment operator. Remember, single is equal to sign is known as assignment operator. We will discuss it in our upcoming chapters also. And this 5 here, this is known as the value that is stored inside this variable. So we will have separate lectures for our operators, and in our course overview I have added one more option here, and that is operators in Python. So we will discuss in great detail these assignment operators, logical operators, arithmetic operators and various other type of operators. But for now we are only using one such operator, and that is known as assignment operator. There are other assignment operators as well. Now here x is the name of variable, and variable is written on the left hand side of this assignment operator, and the value that is being stored in this variable is written on the right hand side. So this is how variables are created in Python. Currently this variable is holding a numeric value, and to be precise this variable is holding an integer value. So in earlier example I demonstrated you how we can determine the data type of any value. So now what you can do is, in your type function as an argument, you will see idle is giving you some example also, object or name, basis, dictionary. So in your type function what you can do, you can now type x and you will get the same result. So as I mentioned, the value that is stored in this variable is now kept with this variable, and now this variable can be used in place of that value. We can store string data in variables also. For example, name is equal to Mohan. So here name is a variable and Mohan is the value that is stored inside this variable. Now if you want to print your variable, you can write print and you can write name and hit enter. So now you will get Mohan. Similarly, we can type name is equal to, let's say, Sohan, and now simply write name and hit enter. Again that value will be printed and you will get Sohan. The difference is when we have used double quotes, so then we have not used the print function, so Python has printed the string with single inverted comma. Now this is how you can create variables. For example, we can write condition is equal to true, and now if you will write condition, or if you want to print condition, you will get true. So this is how we can store any data type value inside a variable, and then we can use type function to determine its type of condition. So this is class bool. Now next thing is, so now moving ahead, and so we have discussed these things. Now we are going to discuss what are some valid variable names. So how you can declare a variable, what are the correct ways of declaring a variable. So first condition is a variable name must start with an alphabet. For example, you can write any alphabet from A to Z or capital A to capital Z. You can write any alphabet, but the name should start with an alphabet. For example, email is equal to abc@mail.com. Here email is your variable and is a valid variable. If you have to write another email, you can create another variable name, email1 is equal to abc at, let's say, gmail.com. This is another email. But if you write your variable name starting with a number, then one email is equal to, let's say, acv at mail.com. Now you will get an error because you have started your variable name with a number. So the first condition is you cannot start a variable name with numbers. You can write it down and you can make it a regular practice. Do not start your variable names with numbers. Now next thing is, suppose you have two words in your variable name. So to declare to create variables with two or more words, the valid special character that we can use in creating a variable name is underscore, or you can keep the first letter of first word capital and second letter and the first letter of second word capital. You can write it this way also, or you can keep the first letter of first word small and you can keep the first letter of the second word capital, so that you can read these variables and you can understand what is written here. But these variable names are case sensitive, so this is a different variable for Python. Again, this is also a different variable. So all these four variables that are created here, these are different variables of Python. Now one more thing is there, we cannot create variable names with spaces. So let me try this example here, and let me create a variable name. First name is equal to Mohan. Now you are getting a syntax error, and the second word of our variable is highlighted in red. You cannot use anything other than underscore. Suppose any other special character. Suppose we want to use first @ name. So we want to create a variable name with this format. So let me write this. If you will do this, can't assign to operator, you cannot use this hyphen sign or minus sign while creating your variable names. So what it is thinking is, or what Python assumes is, that first is some variable and name is another variable, and we are trying to subtract first from name. But because this minus sign here is an operator which we will discuss in the arithmetic operators section, and because this is an operator, we cannot use it. So the conclusion is, if you have more than two words, or if you have more than one word in your variable, use underscore or use capital letter or use camel case, use anything, but don't try to use special characters other than underscore. For example, date of birth is equal to 22 July 1980. So this is a valid variable. If you will print this variable here, So you will get the value, whatever value is stored inside this variable. I want to discuss one more thing. Suppose you have written x is equal to 56, you have written y is equal to 67, and you will understand this, type x plus y, and you will get the value of x, the sum of x and y, because 56 is stored inside x, 67 is stored inside y. So variables are used to store values, and these values can be changed also. So for example, now I am going to write x is equal to 78. I have changed the value of x. Now when I will do x plus y, I will get a different value, because at this line the value of x is changed. So whatever value is assigned to a variable can be changed also. And suppose I write a keyword here, del x. So del here is a keyword, and now if I will try to print x, I will get an error that x is not defined. Why I am getting this error? Because this del keyword is an important keyword. This is used to delete variable, delete any type of variable, or so whatever values were stored in x, they were deleted, and also even the variable itself was deleted using this keyword. So while going with our tutorial, I will discuss some keywords, I will discuss some functions like print, type, and we will discuss various functions. So I am going to discuss one more function here. Let me write a variable first. I am writing name Mohan Singh. Now if I will try to, now I am using another built-in function of Python, and that function is len. And now if I will try to get the length of name, so it will tell that it will return 11. That means there are 11 characters in this string. So these things will be discussed in the separate section of strings, that is our chapter string manipulation, basic operations, slicing, and functions and methods that are associated with the strings. So you can use len, it is short for length. You can use this len method. Len method can be used to count number of elements in a collection or number of characters in a string. So you can do this also. So I think that's it for this part of this video. I think you have understood what is a variable, what are the usage of a variable, and variables are very important because these variables save our time. And instead of writing here the name is small, but there can be an article of 1000 characters, and that article of 1000 characters will be stored in a variable name of few characters. So instead of writing that article, instead of writing those 1000 characters again and again, we can use the replacement for it. We can use the variable name to which that article is assigned, and that variable name will work in the same way as that particular article or that particular string would have worked. So like in this case, there are 11 characters in this string, but we have replaced it with a variable name of 4 characters only. So we have kind of saved something, and this variable name can be used any number of times. And for example, you can write my name is and plus name. So my name is Mohan Singh. This plus here is an operator. This operator is known as this operator is used to add, obviously, but in this case when we have two strings, so this operator will be used to join two strings together. Hello friends, and welcome to this step-by-step Python tutorial for absolute beginners by Slidescope. This is another chapter in our course, and in the previous chapters we discussed about data types in Python. We also discussed about variables in Python, and now in this chapter we are going to discuss about typecasting in Python. So typecasting is the process of changing one particular data type into another particular data type. So a value of one particular data type can be converted to a value of another data type. It is also known as type conversion, and in Python, casting in Python is therefore done using constructor functions. There are some constructor functions and we are going to study them. So let me open my idle So again, we are using the same IDE that we have used so far in our tutorial, idle. So now in idle, you can create a new variable. For example, I have created a variable x is equal to 5. If you will determine its type, then you will get an output that this is a variable of class int. That means x here is an integer. Now if you want to convert an integer to a string, suppose you have to print this statement, I have 5 apples. So if you have to print this statement using this variable, what you can do is you can write I have, this is a string, then you can concatenate this string with x because this is an variable, and then you can write apples, but it will give you an error because in concatenation or while you have to add two or more strings together, you use this plus sign. But the rule of concatenation is all the elements that we are adding in concatenation must be strings. So to do that, you can write I have, then you can write plus to concatenate it with, and then you can use a constructor function which is known as str. Str is a built-in function of Python, and you can write strx plus apples, and now when you will print this, so you will get the desired output. So now you understand why do we need typecasting. Similarly, if you have to change this x value to a float value, what you can do is you can write a function here float, write x, and then the value of x integers will be changed into x float values. Similarly, if it is written 45.67, we know this is a float value, but if you will write integer, if you will write this value in integer function, what it will do is it will omit out the float part from it and it will give only the integer part from it. So this is how you can convert float into int into float. You can convert string into integer into string, and so on. For example, we have age is equal to 25. Now suppose you have to add this with some other integer. So if you have to add age plus 5, so again you will get an error. So what you can do is you can write int of age. So first, because you have to perform a mathematical operation, so you have to convert that string into integer or float, and then you can perform your mathematical operation. So there are two rules here. If you have to write a string where you have to use integer values in between, if you have to write a big string, and that big string will be constructed with the help of many small strings, and in those small strings there are some integer variables also, so you can use str, because we cannot join join a string with an integer, or we cannot join a string with a float, but we can join a string with another string. And similarly, we cannot perform mathematical operations on two strings, or we cannot perform mathematical operations on a string and an integer. So all elements must be numeric values in order to perform mathematical operations. So this type conversion, we will see some practical examples of this type conversion when we will see this part, taking user input, because in Python if you will take input from user, that input always is in string form, and if you have to perform mathematical operations on user input, for example, you have to add two numbers, so you will take number 1 from user, you will take number 1 from user, you will take number 2 from user, and then you have to add them or you have to subtract them. So to do that, you have to convert them in integer or float values. You cannot subtract two string values. And that's it for this typecasting. In the next part, we will discuss about some operators, and there are various operators in Python, and these are very important operators. These are symbols and various letters or various alphabets or words that we can use for performing various operations in Python. So thanks for watching. Hello friends, and I was discussing about typecasting in Python, and I would like to add one more point here. Uh, we have already discussed that there are Boolean data types. So for example, let's say C is equal to true. So here C is a variable and true is a value inside that variable C. And now when you will check the type of C using the type function, it will tell you it has a value of bool. But if you will but we can do one more thing. We can add numbers with boolean values also. So 4 plus C is 5. That means the boolean equivalent or the integer equivalent of boolean value true is 1. So true basically means 1 in integer, and similarly false means 0. So for example, 4 plus false will always be 4, and true plus false will always be 1 because true is 1. So this is something which I want to add in my type conversion part. So if you will convert int of true, then you will get 1, and if you will convert int of false, then you will get 0. Similarly, you can get the float of true also, it is 1.0, and you can get str. So let's write str true, and you will get, now this true is not boolean, this true is string. You can write condition is, and because it's a string and you have to concatenate it with the string, so string is condition is str true. So condition is true. Spelling of condition is wrong. So I hope you have understood the process of type conversion. Again, I will demonstrate the practical usage of type conversion in the later parts of this video series. So I hope you have understood it, and please now watch the next part of this video. Thanks for watching.